You know that feeling, right? That really specific, sinking feeling? You're in a conversation, you're physically right there, but you just get this sense that you're on the outside looking in?
Yeah, let's get right into that. I mean, picture it. You're at a dinner party, maybe a meeting at work. The words being used are just, normal words. But there's this undercurrent, this whole other layer of understanding flowing between two people that just completely sails over your head. It's such a weirdly isolating feeling, isn't it?
And it's more than just a vague feeling. You start noticing these tiny signals. They're not just talking. They're operating on a whole different level. It's like a mechanical layer of interaction. They respond reflexively to these subtle cues, ownership cues, identity references that you can't even detect. You can't prove it, you can't point to a single word, but you know you're outside a relational loop that's being reinforced right in front of your face.
So naturally, our first instinct when that happens is to get defensive, right? You start to wonder, is this second conversation, this hidden layer, being used against me? Is this just a wall they've built to create intimacy for themselves, or is it a weapon to keep me out? Well, this brings us to a really useful concept called interpretive asymmetry. This isn't just about a simple disagreement. It's about a structural gap in information. See, one person is hearing the literal words being said, but the other person is hearing both the words and all the hidden relational positioning they carry. Both people think they're in the same conversation, but they're really not. And this is where it gets really murky. Is the goal of the communication to guide everyone toward a shared, transparent goal? Or is it being used to manage someone without their knowledge or consent? Because when one person holds all the contextual keys, the whole dynamic can flip from collaborative to controlling in a heartbeat.
And this quote just hits the nail on the head. Think about it. Real guidance, true leadership, it's transparent. We all know the goal. But when the structure of the communication is opaque, when it's hidden from you, it completely strips away your agency. You're basically being moved around on a chessboard without even knowing you're playing a game.
And this isn't some minor social inconvenience. This can be actively harmful. This imbalance allows for what you might call weaponized ambiguity, where someone can say something mean, but if you call them on it, they can just retreat to, "What? I never said that." It socially isolates you. And in any kind of close relationship, it's a betrayal of the most fundamental thing you have, a shared reality.
So here's something really important to remember. If you feel suspicious in these moments, you're not crazy. You're not just being paranoid. That feeling is an absolutely rational, logical response to an information gap. You aren't imagining the secrecy. It's literally built into the very grammar of the conversation. Okay, but what if there's another way to look at all this? What if it isn't always about malice or conspiracy? Let's just entertain a different possibility for a minute. What if we're actually dealing with two totally different ways of processing the world? Let's imagine there are two modes of thinking that operate inside all of us. First, you've got the literal mind. It's all about data, control, certainty. It wants to know what's on the surface. It asks, does it work? Can I measure it? Then you've got the poetic mind. This one's focused on patterns, on depth, on layered meaning. It's always asking, but what does it mean?
And this leads us to a really provocative idea. The conflict between these two modes of thinking. It's not just a friendly debate, it's a power struggle. It's that moment when the part of us that demands literal, efficient control decides that all that poetic stuff, all that ambiguity, well, it's just a bug. It's not a feature. It's too messy, too inefficient, and it has to go. Now I know that's a pretty heavy concept, so let's bring it down to earth with a really simple analogy that explains how multiple layers of truth can exist at the exact same time without anyone trying to deceive you.
Just think about Santa Claus. For a little kid, Santa is a literal, real man with a sleigh. And for their world, that's a perfectly functional truth. Then you get a bit older, you become the cynic, you figure out, oh, Santa's just a lie my parents tell me. That's a different, more transactional truth. But there's a third level, right? The sage, the adult who understands that Santa is a powerful, shared symbol of generosity and the spirit of giving.
And this is the absolute key. The story of Santa never actually changes. The only thing that changes is our capacity to perceive its depth. The literal story was just a kind of container, holding a deeper truth for us, until we were developed enough to grasp it on its own terms.
This idea is called developmental opacity, and it completely reframes the whole idea of secrecy. It suggests that sometimes what feels like malicious exclusion, that interpretive asymmetry we started with, might actually be this instead.
The meaning isn't hidden from you in a locked box, it's simply ahead of you, on a path you haven't walked yet. All right, so now we've got these two big ideas on the table. One model where layered communication can be a weapon, and another where it's a developmental pathway to deeper meaning. So, let's bring this all home and ask where the real conflict actually is. Is the problem really about other people and their secret conversations designed to exclude us? Or, and just consider this, is it possible the main conflict is happening inside our own heads, between our own literal and poetic ways of seeing the world?
Maybe we can think of this internal struggle as a kind of lost voice inside each of us. It's our suppressed capacity for that poetic, relational logic. And our modern mindset, which is so obsessed with data and literalism, has basically just quieted that part of our brain, the part that reads the world for deeper meaning.
And that really leaves us with one final thought to chew on. In a world that demands data, that wants the tweet instead of the poem, have we just lost the ability to hear the music? Maybe we resent ambiguity in other people because we've stamped it out in ourselves. The challenge, then, isn't just about spotting when you're being excluded. It's about asking if we can retrain our own ears to hear that music once again.